second year in Denver.
Shedeur Sanders just made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, and the internet is losing its mind for all the wrong reasons. Shannon Sharpe and Ochocinco just went nuclear defending him, and what they revealed about how Pro Bowl selections actually work is going to make a lot of haters real quiet real fast. But before we break down why the criticism is completely misguided, you need to understand what actually happened behind the scenes. Because multiple star quarterbacks got offered this spot before Shedeur, and they all said no. Every single one of them. And the reason why they turned it down? Nobody's talking about it, but it exposes how the Pro Bowl really works in today's NFL. Plus, Shannon Sharpe just dropped some knowledge about his own Pro Bowl experiences that completely changes how we should view Shedeur's selection. And the comparison he made is going to flip this entire narrative upside down. So here's what went down, and trust me, the context matters way more than people realize. Shedeur Sanders was just named to the Pro Bowl as an alternate. He's replacing Drake May, who can't participate because he's playing in the Super Bowl. That's the first thing people need to understand. This wasn't some charity selection. This wasn't the NFL doing Deion Sanders a favor. Drake May made it. Drake May can't go. Someone has to replace him. And it gets deeper. Justin Herbert is also on the Pro Bowl roster, but he just had surgery on his hand in December. If Herbert can't participate, guess who's next in line? Shedeur Sanders again. So we're potentially looking at Shedeur replacing two quarterbacks, not just one. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is what Shannon and Ocho exposed that has everyone backtracking. The AFC only had 4 quarterbacks in the top 10 for fan voting. Josh Allen, Drake May, Patrick Mahomes, and Bo Nix. That's it for guys. And guess what? Mahomes is out with an injury. Bo Nix is out with an injury. May is in the Super Bowl. So the AFC quarterback pool got decimated fast. Now, the names people are throwing around saying they should have gone instead? Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. All bigger names, all more established, all had better statistical seasons than Shedeur. But here's the part nobody wants to acknowledge. They all said no. They all turned it down. Or at the very least, they were contacted and declined before it ever got to Shedeur. Shannon Sharpe made this crystal clear on Nightcap. He said, "I'm not so sure the other names would have gone. Not at that far down as an alternate." He specifically mentioned that Lamar probably turned it down, Aaron Rodgers definitely wasn't interested, and Joe Burrow likely had other plans. Think about what that means for a second. The outrage isn't about Shedeur taking someone else's spot. The outrage is about Shedeur accepting an opportunity that multiple veterans rejected. Let that sink in. People are mad at a rookie for saying yes when the established stars said no.
He's a Pro Bowler.
And this is where Shannon and Ocho really went in on the haters, because they started explaining what the Pro Bowl used to mean versus what it means now. Shannon said it straight up. The Pro Bowl does not have the same recognition that it once did. It used to mean something to go to the Pro Bowl. He talked about how back in the day the Pro Bowl was in Hawaii. Players got a vacation, brought their families, spent a week on the islands. It was an honor, a reward, a destination. Players actually wanted to go because it meant something beyond just the accolade. Now, it's a skills competition in whatever city the NFL picks. This year it's in San Francisco. No Hawaii. No week-long vacation. No real game. Just flag football and throwing competitions. So when people ask why Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers didn't go, the answer is simple. It's not worth their time anymore. It doesn't carry the same weight. And honestly, if you're already an established All-Pro like Lamar or a veteran like Rodgers, what are you really gaining from going to the Pro Bowl as an alternate? Nothing. But for Shedeur Sanders? This is everything. This is his first year in the NFL. This is his chance to put Pro Bowler on his resume forever. This is validation that even as an alternate, even with people criticizing his selection, he's already being mentioned in the same conversation as the elite quarterbacks in the conference. And Shannon made another point that people need to hear. He said, no matter what you think, when it's all said and done, he'll be a one-time Pro Bowl player. How he got there is unimportant. Nobody's going to remember 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now that he was an alternate. That's facts. That's reality. That's how NFL history works. In 10 years, someone's going to look up Shedeur Sanders' career accomplishments, and they're going to see Pro Bowl 2026 on his list. They're not going to see an asterisk. They're not going to see alternate next to it. They're just going to see that he made it. Just like Tyler Huntley made it a few years ago as an alternate. Just like dozens of other players throughout NFL history made it as alternates. It happens every single year, but somehow when it's Shedeur Sanders, it becomes this massive controversy. Ask yourself why that is. Now, Ocho brought up an interesting point during the conversation. He said he was confused at first about why other quarterbacks with better stats didn't get selected. He specifically mentioned Trevor Lawrence, and Shannon had to explain to him how far down the alternate list they actually went. See, this wasn't the second alternate. This wasn't even the third or fourth alternate. By the time they got to Shedeur, they'd already gone through multiple rounds of replacements. That's how many people turned it down. The Pro Bowl committee literally kept calling people, and people kept saying no until they finally got to someone who said yes. And that someone was Shedeur Sanders. But let's talk about what this really represents beyond just the Pro Bowl selection itself. This is about respect. This is about recognition. This is about a rookie quarterback who came into the league with massive expectations, dealt with constant criticism, played on a Browns team that was rebuilding, and still managed to impress enough people to be considered for the Pro Bowl when the opportunity arose. Because here's something else people aren't considering. Fan voting played a role in this. Coaches voting played a role in this. Player voting played a role in this. Shedeur had support across all three categories, which is why when it came time to name alternates, his name was in the mix. That doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen because daddy's famous. That happens because you've earned respect from your peers, from the coaches around the league, and from the fans who watch you play every week. And Shannon brought up another crucial point. He talked about his own experiences being a first alternate multiple times in his career. His first year in Baltimore, his last 2 years in Denver. Times when he felt like he deserved to make it over the guys who got selected, but didn't get the nod. He said, "I should have made it." But hey, 8 times in 14 years, that's pretty good for a guy taken in the 7th round. 8 Pro Bowls. Hall of Fame career. And even Shannon Sharpe admits there were years he got snubbed as a first alternate. So the idea that Pro Bowl selections are always perfect, that the right guys always make it, that stats tell the whole story? That's nonsense. It's always been subjective. It's always been political to some degree. And it's always included alternates who made it because other guys couldn't or wouldn't participate. The only difference this year is the alternate's name is Shedeur Sanders, and people have been waiting for any reason to criticize him since before he even got drafted. Let's be real about something else. The criticism isn't actually about whether Shedeur deserves the Pro Bowl or not. It's about people who already decided they don't like him, who already decided he gets too much attention, who already decided he's overhyped because of his last name. This is confirmation bias disguised as legitimate criticism. If this was any other rookie quarterback making the Pro Bowl as a 7th or 8th alternate after multiple stars turned it down, nobody would care. It would be a footnote. A nice story. Good for him. But because it's Shedeur, it becomes a 5-day news cycle with people analyzing whether he deserves it as if there's some sacred standard for being a Pro Bowl alternate. Here's the standard. You're available. You're willing to go. And you've performed well enough during the season that when they go down the list, your name comes up before they run out of options. That's it. That's the standard. And Shedeur met it. Now, Ocho made sure to point out something important at the end of their discussion. He said, "No matter how you feel, you got to put Pro Bowler in front of that name before you say it. No matter whether he deserved it or not, whether the stats were up to par for him to make it, the players before him chose not to go. Therefore, with the pecking order, he was next in line. So therefore, he's a Pro Bowler. Period. End of discussion." You can debate whether the system is broken. You can debate whether the Pro Bowl should even exist anymore. You can debate whether it means as much as it used to. Those are all valid conversations. But what you can't debate is that Shedeur Sanders is now a Pro Bowl quarterback. That's a fact. That's on his resume. That's part of his legacy regardless of how it happened. And for a rookie who's dealt with more scrutiny and criticism than probably any quarterback in his draft class, this has to feel like validation. Not because he thinks he had the best season statistically. Not because he thinks he outplayed Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. But because the league recognized him enough to call his name when they needed someone. Because his peers and coaches voted for him in numbers high enough to be an alternate. Because when everyone else said no, he said yes. There's value in that. There's character in that. There's professionalism in that. Shannon talked about how back in the day players used to hook each other up with Pro Bowl spots. He told a story about his brother making the Pro Bowl and Chris Carter being the alternate, and how Chris called to see if his brother was really going, and when push came to shove, suddenly his brother had an injury so Chris could go. He told another story about himself giving up his Pro Bowl spot to Eric Green when he was the alternate. About how that's what players did for each other. About how it was understood that these opportunities mattered, especially for guys who might only get one chance. Shedeur is getting his one chance right now, and instead of celebrating it or even just acknowledging it, people are trying to tear it down and delegitimize it. That says way more about them than it does about Shedeur. And here's the final thing that Shannon and Ocho touched on that really puts this whole thing in perspective. They talked about how the Pro Bowl used to be a badge of honor. How players displayed their Pro Bowl helmets signed by legends and Hall of Famers. How it represented being part of an elite fraternity of the best players in the game. Shannon said he still has his leather jackets from making All Madden and the Pro Bowl multiple times. He still has the sweatshirts, the memorabilia, the memories. Not because the games themselves were the most important thing, but because of what they represented. Being recognized by your peers. Being selected among the best. Being part of something bigger than just your individual team. That's what the Pro Bowl meant. And even though it doesn't carry the same weight now for a rookie like Shedeur Sanders, it still matters. It's still an achievement. It's still something to be proud of. The fact that so many people want to take that away from him, want to diminish it, want to make it seem like some kind of participation trophy? That's sad. That's bitter. That's exactly the kind of negativity that makes young players resent the media and the fans who are supposed to support them. Shedeur didn't campaign for this. He didn't lobby for this. He didn't create a social media movement demanding to be selected. He just played football, and when the opportunity came, he accepted it. That's all this is. And that's all it needs to be. Look, here's my prediction. 5 years from now, when Shedeur has multiple Pro Bowls and maybe even an All-Pro selection or two, nobody's going to care that his first one came as an alternate. Nobody's going to remember the controversy. Nobody's going to bring it up as some kind of black mark on his career. They're just going to see a successful quarterback who started earning accolades from his rookie year and never looked back. And all the people criticizing this selection right now, they're going to move on to the next thing to complain about, because that's what haters do. They find the next target. But Shedeur Sanders will still be a Pro Bowl quarterback. That's permanent. That's forever. And no amount of tweets or hot takes can change that. If you're tired of the constant negativity surrounding Shedeur and want content that actually gives him credit where credit is due, hit that subscribe button right now. Because we're going to keep defending him, supporting him, and calling out the nonsense when we see it. Drop a comment below. Do you think Shedeur deserved the Pro Bowl spot, or do you think the haters have a point? Let me know where you stand. This is Gridiron Insights, and we'll see you in the next one.